morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Joe.
We've been doing this for some time. One might even say I'm getting used to it, and with that, perhaps a little bit better. But as we were recently discussing, human beings crave novelty. What is it about us that wants to see the next new thing?
We know with all the genetic research going on, I often wonder if there isn't a human novelty gene, and that would account for us moving things around, changing, redoing painting, painting rooms different colors, or painting one wall a color. And look, you remember the 50s? I remember the 50s, and we make fun of the 50s. But during the 50s, we thought they were wonderful colors. And all these things were terrific in the 50s. And now we look at it and go, that's not really aesthetically pleasing. What's going on? You're an artist. What's going on with that?
I still like black light from time to time, but I look at pictures of the clothes that I wore in the 60s and even worse, the 70s, and I go, oh my goodness. And I remember desiring with all my heart those wide bell bottoms and platform shoes and the big gold medallions.
And my Nehru jacket and my Eisenhower jacket. And I think those are all novelty. And I think that just proves my point that we have a novelty gene and we can't seem to suppress it. Amusement parks, look at what all the amusement parks do and go through to create a new ride, something a little bit different. And basically, you go around in a circle, you dip up and down, and you get scared, and you throw up. And each amusement park tries to come up with one more idea that'll attract people. And I think the whole basis of, not to pick on Disney World, because I love Disney World and Disneyland and Six Flags. And as a kid, we could only afford 3 flags because Six Flags was just too expensive for us. Yeah, so I think that's all based on our novelty gene.
But is it also, when you say novelty gene and you mentioned amusement parks, that brings to mind the thought, but it has to be safe. We like to try new things as long as there's not too much risk involved. For example, everybody wants to try the latest sandwich that's out on the fast food circuit, but not everybody wants to try skydiving.
Oh, right. I think there's a difference between the novelty gene and not so much risky behavior. There's safe, risky behavior is kind of neat.
Thrill-seeking behavior.
Thrill-seeking, that's the word, thrill-seeking. And you just brought up food. Look at the novelty. As a kid, we had hot dogs, we had hamburgers, I grew up in Boston, so we went to Little Italy, we went to Chinatown, we would have the basic foods. And then at some point, novelty took over. And there's a name for some of the cross foods.
Fusion.
Fusion. I was a kid, didn't have fusion. There was no such thing, you have food. And I think that's also part of the novelty gene. We even want food that's novel or different. And how long do you think fusion food is going to last?
Probably as long as somebody needs to fill out their menu and compete with the guy across the street. But what happens when the novelty wears off? What do we turn to then?
Then we turn to another music group. Think of all the groups that when we were young, not the Beatles or not the Stones, because they've withstood REO Speedwagon, they've withstood the test of time. So that's different. The test of time is important because that will tell us if something's going to last. However, look at the groups. I can't remember the names of the groups that my daughters had me listen to. No one listens to them anymore. The novelty wears off. And we then look for the next newest thing in music, in art, in food. And I believe we have a novelty gene and we're going to have it forever. Why do we need a helicopter on Mars? We have homeless people. We have people in need of medical care, but we're thrilled with a helicopter on Mars. It's novel. It's a novelty. And other things are just we around us, and they don't generate the excitement. What's Coca-Cola doing now? The flavors. When I was a kid, you had Coke, and then you had
Tab.
Tab. There was Tab and there was Coke. Now look at the Coke flavors. It's a
Oh,
novel.
yes. Well, I, for one, get really annoyed when I look at Oreos. Talk about trying to fix something that wasn't broken in the first place. But one thing's for sure, Rabbi, is that you will never lose your novelty. And we will always be returning to you for help and insight into the humdrum and everyday. Thank you so much.
And I would leave you with honor your novelty gene because it's actually fun.